We're not into having 10,000 clients. We'd rather have 1,000 clients that are, and I say clients, it'd be chefs or athletes. We'd rather have 1,000 and build slowly from quality and really like, what do we need? What can we provide these chefs with, versus, just having the large number, the large amorphous, and just needing a specific need that a marketplace could provide.
What I do is inconsequential. Why I do what I do is I get to shorten people's journeys every day. What I love about our hospitality industry is that it's our mission to make people feel cared for while on their journeys. Together, we'll explore what hospitality means in the built environment, in business, and in our daily lives. I'm Dan Ryan, and this is Defining Hospitality. This podcast is sponsored by Berman Falk Hospitality Group, a design-driven furniture manufacturer who specializes in custom case goods and seating for hotel guest rooms. Today's guests are a passionate entrepreneurial duo combining their experiences across management and leadership and marketing and creative. Today, they're connecting people through food and challenging the traditional restaurant experience. They've been featured in Voyage Austin, The Scout Guide, Fox 7, and most recently featured in Tribeza, and will soon be available to book via OpenTable. They're the co-founders of Tivity, Emmie Nostitz, and Zach Knight. Welcome both.
Thank you. Nice to see you.
I know we were doing our sound check and clapping, but I'm like, where the sky is bright and the sun is blue, deep in the heart of Texas. So that's where they're calling from.
Yeah. Well, hello from Austin.
Capital City.
Thank you for being here. And I think I'm excited to talk to all of my guests. So it's like my children. I love them all equally. But I have personal experience with these two in the sense that I've been thinking about what to do with my podcast as far as a platform and taking this into a more intimate and personal experience. So imagine, I still haven't figured it out fully yet, but past guests, 5 dinners in 5 cities over the course of a year, or 10 cities over the course of a year. One of the hangups that I've had is I don't want to do it at a private room in a restaurant because there's just a lot of goings on in a restaurant, and there's noise, and it's hard to have like a deep, meaningful conversation, a DMC, let's call it, in that environment. I've done it recently. I had a really great one in a private supper club, which was great, and they had their own kitchen and everything else. But I feel like those are few and far between. And what Emmie and Zach have developed is a platform, and I should let you say what you do, but if I were to like sum up what they are, they're basically like agents for chefs. So basically you could be at your home, someone else's home, a great apartment, a museum, something that has a great kitchen. They have a nationwide, maybe global at some point, or I don't know if it's there already, network of chefs that basically they listen to me, hear what I'm trying to accomplish, offer up a couple different options, have a chef come to my house, in this case, this summer, and I don't have to do anything. Like I'm just there and focusing. I love hosting people. My block has been, I like to cook, then I have to clean, try and get my kids to, I wind up yelling at them to do it. And then it like kind of spoils the mood a little bit, but everything was like a turnkey solution. It was awesome. And I want to go into my experience there first, but before we dive deeper, Emmie and Zach, what does hospitality mean to you, and how has it played a role in creating this platform?
Great question.
Really fun.
Great question.
Yeah.
Oh, and actually, before you answer that, did I totally butcher what you do, or was my experience true and real?
No, it's very true. I think the only piece that you missed, and what is the core of our business, is our chefs, right? So you spoke to it from a very client-based perspective, which is completely right. Like you should have access to great chefs and to great meals in your home or the venue of your choice. But when we started this, the focus was, and still is, our chefs, and we're a chef-focused business. So we are giving our chefs the tools and the amplification to do more of that. So many chefs in this country are leaving restaurants or looking for other opportunities and don't know how to get leads, or they don't know how to manage their own business, or they're not great at client relation. And that's where we can step in and really help them.
And that's a great tee up to what does hospitality mean to you? And then I want to learn more about that, because to me, it's fascinating. And it's like the chefs are true, well, at least the one I experienced, like really like a creative person, awesome, had made a great dinner experience. But like, what does hospitality mean to you?
I think it's about managing expectations. I think that in a true hospitality experience, your needs are met and exceeded. Hopefully, you feel completely cared for. And, everybody has different expectations. So as it relates to what does a dinner party need, it, starts with the chef. We really believe that if the chef has the tools they need to execute a meal, which is, their passionate or their pursuit, then they're gonna crush it. And so we really help them with that. But it's a two-sided experience, because they're also the clients. And without the clients, the chef's work wouldn't be relevant. And so we get the expectations of the client. We really determine what they are looking for, as you said, which was great. You said, listen to me. What did I need? What did I want? And then our goal was to find a chef that could meet those needs. And then we play like a matchmaker or an agent role, and making sure, the chef's needs are met. The chef has the tools they need. At the client, you have the tool, or, hopefully have tools, hopefully have the forks and the knives. But if you don't, we want to make sure that we know about that in advance, so that the chef doesn't show up to an amazing dinner, but there's no flatware. There's a lot of different like minutia to these experiences. So simplified, I believe, and I think Tivity, we incorporated that into our philosophy, is really managing the expectations of the client and the chef, and then how do those translate to a beautiful dining experience. And you said, there's a kitchen. I mean, there might not be a kitchen.
No.
So we try to help with that.
That opens up so many more possibilities for me as I think. Okay, so now, Emmie, your turn. What does hospitality mean to you?
And in its simplest, I think it's a really human thing. It's a human connection. It's with so much technology at our disposal today, which is fabulous. And we're looking at new pieces of technology to leverage for us. I think hospitality at its core, and what we've really built this on, is a human experience. Like, there's nothing more intimate and human than someone coming into your home and creating a meal and then sharing that meal. So at the end of the day, that's, we are effective when that goes well. And, and that's what hospitality is, I guess, in the sense of like, we ensure that those things happen, and that you walk away with a night or a brunch or a lunch saying that was such an incredible experience and a one-of-a-kind experience. Like that moment in time, that dinner, that menu, that group of people in that space will never happen again. And that's something really unique, especially in the world today. Like, I don't think we have so much of that anymore.
You hear all these, if you watch Shark Tank or you hear someone describing a movie or pitching a business, it's always like, it's Uber meets whatever, because it's like, it's a platform, Uber as a platform. What really surprised me about my experience with you, and again, I am a raving fan, right? I have the experience of using them, everyone. So you guys do have a network, you have a platform, but it really was very interpersonal, as far as you guys pulling out of my head, between my ears, what I was trying to accomplish. And then you gave me but it's very human centered and human connected. And what surprises me, actually nothing surprised me in doing it. It was awesome. The execution was incredible and everyone had a really memorable time. What surprised me as we just started talking is that I would think that your business would be focused on finding more people like me, but to hear you guys frame it as a chef focused business, because you're taking these creative experiences that are bound up in people and connecting them with people out there. So just describe that a bit more, because I'm actually very surprised. I figure, like, you want to have a market, but I guess if you're doing it the right way, you're offering these chefs a different channel to practice their craft. And before I try and go out on a limb and describe what that means, like, tell me what that means. Like that to me, or tell me why I'm surprised by that.
Well, I think it's one thing that we say a lot is that we're a platform for chefs to make money and be creative. In a restaurant experience, the chef is likely not the person who is creatively building the menu. They are the chef who's likely executing somebody else's menu. So even in a restaurant experience, a chef doesn't get to be as fully creative as they could be or may want to be or may have the experience to be unless they're an owner of that restaurant and they've been able to have creative control. Now, in a hospitality experience, it's not one-sided. So, you can go to a restaurant and have a chef who produces a set menu. That's likely a celebrity chef or, a chef who's earned the notoriety or has the creative vision to create that platform for their guests. But most restaurants have a menu that has a selection that no one could eat in one sitting.
Mhm.
It's in a location that you're sharing with hundreds of other people. And as the guest, on the guest side, you never actually engage with the chef, whoever, maybe cares about the food really. And then the experience that we create and the chef experiences that we have built with our clients, the chef is serving the food. There's a collaboration with the client to create the menu. That's always a spectrum of how much do you think you want and how much do you find out that you can have. And there's some sort of balance there. And then the chef is actually cooking and serving the meal and interacting with the guest directly. It doesn't happen in a restaurant even. And even if you went to the best restaurant with that chef who makes the menu that you can only eat that and they don't modify anything, you probably don't really get to interact with the chef like you do with a Tivity experience or with an experience where you have a private chef. And so one of the things, and I'll pass it off to my homie, not stealing the mic,
No.
is that, with this opportunity, there is a way, when in doubt, invert is, a mathematical philosophy and applies to a lot of things and numbers and that. But for us, it kind of is relevant where you might think that, only building clients is important, but by us creating a platform for chefs, really listening to the chefs and finding out what they need, there's a level of trust and relationship building that we have where our chefs are one of the greatest sources of leads for us in getting new clients. And we have our marketing funnels on our side, but chefs give us referrals all the time because they know that their clients, if they can't work the event, their clients are going to be taken care of and cared for in the same way that they would provide if they were there. And so they care for their clients in that same way, which is also kind of a interesting thought.
So, Emmie, just thinking about this idea of a platform for chefs, I can imagine some chefs, something that resonated is many chefs work in a star chef or well-known chef's kitchen. They're passionate about what they do, but they haven't really gotten the spotlight yet, right? So there's, as a platform for chefs, there's that spotlight thing. There's also the taking all that administrative back of house annoying stuff that from billing and invoicing and checklists and making sure that you do have all the proper cutlery. What are some, I guess, like testimonials you would get, generally speaking, from chefs that you've worked with? And like, why do they love this platform?
I mean, the number one thing we really continually keep hearing, because I'll back up a little bit, that we are not the only platform in this space, right? We have competitors. We have people doing what we're doing. I think the big difference is that they are predominantly lead generators and their chefs are left to do most of the interaction and talking, whereas we take a chef approach. And what we are continually hearing from chefs is, oh, you guys speak our language and you guys understand what we're talking about. And there's such an intricacy to what goes into a dinner. And I think most clients don't realize the amount of like what menu creation takes, what shopping takes, what ideation takes, what getting there to, and chefs have just been expected to do that and show up and have all these tools and things. And I think that that's been the biggest thing, at least on my end, every time we talk to a chef, is like, you actually, one, listen, but you also understand and speak the language that we're speaking and have empathy. Like, I think that's a big thing too, is that it's like they are artists and have a craft, and we really honor that. It's not just a service, right? They're not just a vendor. They are creating an experience. And I think that's something else that has been really important to Zach and myself and to everyone that works with us, and how we position ourselves is this idea of a one-of-a-kind experience. And I think experience is a word that's being thrown around a lot right now. And I think people are trying to harness it because I think they're trying to get back to, a little bit more of this like human thing. But it's, to us, it's like, if a chef can bring, and it's what you said unlocking something inside of these chefs. Like, all of these chefs have all of these menus inside of them. And it's just, they aren't necessarily the most vocal or outwardly going people. And half of our job is to get in there and like crack them open and be like, well, have you ever thought of doing X? Or we just gave a chef a brief for a lunch that's coming up with an artist, and we sent her 5 paintings of the artist, and she just lit up, and she was like, oh my God, I get to create an entire lunch that visually relates to the artwork, and it was just like she was so excited about that project and that like brief that we gave her. And that's really what every dinner is that every dinner is a brief to a chef to say, this is what we've heard from the client, and like, what would you do with that?
So when I started speaking after doing your introduction, I took it as my own experience. This is why it was awesome. And then I was like corrected to see you're actually a chef-centered platform. And of all these 200 plus conversations I've had, hospitality is just this feeling, this human connection, but it's a two-way street. It's not just giving, right? You have to be able to, I think you said crack them open, the guest and the chef and the whole team, to drill down deeper, pull back the onion, and get to that deeper level of really where real impact happens. And I also think, as far as just a creative outlet for the chefs, I'm also under the impression that this could be a lifestyle option for the chefs too. Instead of working at some really renowned restaurant and they're there until 2:30 in the morning, making sure everything is all buttoned up and done, and so that they can come back the next day. This offers someone who is like burnt out and a new workflow, a new relationship with their calendar.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's something we're really proud of, is that we have a handful of chefs that their entire income is through Tivity dinners, events, meal delivery. And they're setting their own schedules. They have time for, a lot of what we hear is like, I want a little more time for my family, and that was also why we built this too. We built a business that we wanted to have our lives as well. Like, it's very important that we live kind of what we say to our chefs also. I mean, I know Zach, coming from the restaurant business, that was something that was so important to him, was like, we love the restaurant business. We don't want to cannibalize it, but we think that there are things in the restaurant world that we can help improve for chefs.
And Zach, just to give a sense of scale, like, when did you guys start?
5 years.
5 years. Okay. Oh, wow. So like coming out of COVID, right? There's probably a need because people maybe didn't want to go to restaurants. They wanted it to come to them. But as the platform, and then just give a size of of the scale geographically and numbers of chefs you're working with currently.
Yeah. So over 5 years, we are in over half of the states. We've booked dinners in over half of the states in the US. We've done a handful of dinners across 2 in Paris, 1 in the UK, and a handful in Mexico. So we, got that global mark. Still a little ways to go, but count it. Our biggest markets, and these are consistent with probably the hot food cities, are Texas. Texas is a really bustling food scene, across Austin, Houston, and Dallas. And then you have New York, LA, San Francisco, and then these little pockets, North Carolina, Asheville, Charlotte, Raleigh, those areas. And then Florida, Colorado, resort, mountain towns. So those are like our kind of big markets. Scale of chefs, our list of chefs keeps growing. We have a list of over 1,000 chefs. We haven't worked or booked all of those chefs, but we do have an active
roster
of chefs on our portal, which is accessible through our website. So chefs who are interested can go to our website and set up an account. Once they set up an account, we'll reach out and talk to them and get to know them a little bit. So like I said, we haven't booked all of those chefs, but we do have a growing list of chefs across the US.
Yeah.
Cool. And then with the website that's obviously AI and blockchain empowered, just kidding.
We used to joke when we started, they were like, do you have an app? And we were like, we are the app. Like, we did it all.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay. So that leads me to the next question. Like a lot of these, technology has a place everywhere, I believe. But when you were really trying to create these human to human experiences, sometimes people don't want to deal with another human. I get that. But like for this type of thing, for me, the hospitality is like this feeling of a hearth, right? It's people are on all sides of the hearth. It's warm. There's banter going back and forth. There's feeling going back and forth. There's emotion. But as your platform grows to a global,
big heart
footprint, huge heart. But like, how do you maintain the quality and that emotional resonance as you scale?
That's literally the $1 million question, because this business works at scale, like profitability wise. Or our goals, I would say, are at scale. But I think that's also why we have taken very tactical and maybe what most would consider smaller steps in growth. We are completely self-funded. We've never taken on outside investments. And I think we could have easily gotten that. But our decision from the beginning was, one, we wanted to know every aspect of this business, but two, slower growth has, one, created a trust between us and our chefs, but also us and our clients. Like, our clients are our biggest advocates, right? And they come back to us, they recommend us, and we're not just, we always say, like, someone says, where are you in the country? And we say, well, we're everywhere, but we are invited into every market. We've never walked into a market because we thought it was a market that was good for us to be in. We are invited into a market because a client or the chef says, I really need help in this market and I'd like more bookings. Or a client says, I'm in this market, or I'm going to this market. Can you help organize and book a chef for me? So I think that's, to that piece of growth and stuff and technology, like, we are trying to leverage technology in a smart way. And I think I personally in the beginning thought that the technology piece would be for our clients. And I think what we're really realizing is the technology piece is for us, for our chefs, that we really need to build, of like, how do we have quick response times? How do we know what our chefs' calendars are so that we can book them easily without having to call or text every time? Like, is there a system where each chef can say, I'm available on these days or these times, or, and leverage technology in that way, as opposed to an automated system that doesn't feel personal. Because at the end of the day, we are always going to have, it's always going to be, a chef shows up at your house. So that's like very personal anyway. So you want to build that relationship with any client before you step foot in their house.
I love the fact that you've bootstrapped the business. And was that challenging as far as being self-funded, in the sense that you're in Austin, which is, not everyone, but it's like just tech capital. where everyone's probably much like Palo Alto, having this idea and building out decks and raising funds and all that. Do you ever feel like, I don't know, like you should be keeping up with the Joneses in that? And is it hard to just keep your blinders on and stay focused? That's number one. Number two, and Bo Berlinggain, if you're listening, I know I've reached out a couple of times for you to be on this podcast, but he wrote this book that I wish I read earlier in my entrepreneurial journey. It's called Small Giants. And basically the premise is, why scale for the sake of scale? Just stay small, do the best you can, and deliver. And I feel like as an entrepreneur, I go on this whole scale journey where probably it might have been better in hindsight to just do the best I can within my little niche and just be supremely focused, which is what I am now. But I could have had a 10-year head start had Bo Berlinggain please come on this show.
Is Bo the lead model guy? That's not Bo, is it?
No, Bo, I don't know. Well, I just read this book called Small Giants. It's awesome. And he basically takes 8 or 9, I don't know, a bunch of case studies from like Annie DeFranco, who has a recording studio business. She's a singer-songwriter, but she's in Buffalo and she has this singer-songwriter business, and she doesn't want to scale. She doesn't want to open up studios in LA and all these other places. There's this other company that I think was like makes blinking lights or tail lights for high-lows, like warehouse high-lows, and they could do other technology or take that and go everywhere else, but they're like, no, let's just do the best. Or there was this one Zingerman's restaurant up in like Ann Arbor.
I know Zingerman's, yeah,
where they just stay dialed in, like they've been asked to try and go everywhere. But I think it's something that, you can go wide or you can go deep. And I just think, is it hard to think about that in this vibrant, crazy tech fueled place of Austin where you are building a platform and everything else? And how do you keep those blinders on?
We just watch the other people, our competitors do that, and then we're, doing the opposite, but not really. I think one thing that we found was there's a lot of questions, and so we looked at it as, I guess the lean model, or that sort of philosophy is to, test your hypothesis and, sort of pursue the knowledge in that way versus, I guess if we were going after a large sum of money, we could, create something without really any understanding of what it needs to do. And in the initial research phase of this idea of what does it really mean to book a chef in your home, what we found was that nobody really knew or was thinking about the chefs. Like none of what these other companies were doing, it had anything to do with what the chefs actually needed to do, needed to know, or would help them. And, we didn't have a large sum of money to create something. So we were already booking the chefs. And so we thought of it as, look, this is research. We're getting paid. We are getting paid to do this research. And so that we're putting, cash flow negative, like we're bringing in money, we're testing these ideas. As we get this data, we can build something that's actually impactful. Because initially when we started, I was like, yes, let's build the Uber of private chefs. Like, let's do that. What do we need to do that? Let's talk to developers. Who has this?
You need that blockchain AI enabled tech. I mean, without question, just kidding. Everyone, that was a joke.
Roll. Laughter roll. Roll.
Applause. Hit the applause button.
It was good. It was good.
Our website is going through a refresh, so that's why it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
So we are adding this blockchain, and you will be able to book with crypto.
Oh, good. There's a lot of crypto down there, deep in the heart of Texas. And then you're going to get some of those Elon robots to like serve people and cook for you, right?
Yeah, and drive you to your dinner.
Yeah, and then they'll be julienning peppers, and then it'll have a short circuit and it'll fling a chef's knife at someone. It'll be great.
Exactly. We're very excited about all of it.
You can book a bar robots right now.
Really? Come on.
Yeah, you can. I think it's like roughly 10 grand. And it's, it's not really like but it can make 8 drinks, some like every 4 minutes or something. But it like has capacity.
I don't want that. That's not my jam.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is we're not concerned about like people want the chefs are artists. They are contracting this artist to make them a painting, to play them a tune or a score, and it's only going to exist this one time. And then the next time it'll be different because they're going to want to go to a different restaurant or have a different painting. Like they've already had that painting or they've heard that song. So it's really unique for us is that the chefs are constantly creating or are capable of constant creation. Clients are constantly asking for certain things. And we're in the middle, like, a curator or an agent, musical agent, or I think of athlete. The athlete model is a good one. I think we are a boutique athlete agency. We're not into having 10,000 clients. We'd rather have 1,000 clients that are, and I say clients, would be chefs or athletes. We'd rather have 1,000 and build slowly from quality and really like what do we need? What can we provide these chefs with versus, just having the large number, the large amorphous, and just needing a specific need that a marketplace could provide.
And it's not that we don't want to scale. Like we do. We want, like, the ultimate goal is that we become, and that's a big role that we take, but I think the big shift is a marketing thing.
Okay. You can totally scale like the world is your oyster and you've already jumped across the pond, right? You've come to beautiful Weston, Connecticut. You've been all those places that you've mentioned. But I think in order to properly scale, let's take the word proper out of that because it's like there's judgment involved. But you have to focus on that hearth and that chef-centered creativity and being able to deliver for them and those clients. And there is a way to do that and scale it.
But I think it's a cultural shift as well of like a mental, like I call it the decision tree of eating, because like currently you have, when you're like, oh, I'm hungry for dinner tonight with my family or my friends. Like, it's like, I can cook at home. I can go out to a restaurant. I can order in on Uber Eats or Seamless, which is a relatively new thing. Like that, growing up, that was not an option for any of us. Like you could have pizza or Chinese food. Like the notion of saying I can order in really has existed in the last, I would say 15 years, maybe. And that's a cultural shift and a cultural decision-making that did not exist. And that was created. Like 20 years ago, people would have been like, there's no way that Nobu could be delivered to your house. And now it's like, yeah, I can. Like, that's easy. And I think that's where we're sitting with this of like, people think that chefs chefs are unattainable. You have to be very wealthy or it's a special occasion. And I think we're sitting at a crossroads.
Let me just jump in on that because I've been invited to dinner parties where a really good friend of mine would eat at a Danny Meyer restaurant all the time. And he would get that chef to come over to his house and cook, but he knew he built relationships with that chef and it was awesome. But that's kind of hard to do.
Yeah, that's hard to do.
And now you have 1,000 to advocate for and choose. But also, I just want to clarify this with you. Like you can have these magnificent bespoke dinners where you bring china and crystal and beautiful cutlery, or I could provide it all and I could still have a beautiful dinner. Or I think you mentioned it and I'm not sure, but let's say I wanted to get ready for a movie role and I needed to like bulk up for my Roman Legion costume. Can I also have your chefs deliver like protein meals to me, like ground chicken and no carbs? I don't want that, by the way, but if I wanted it, I could.
We can do mackerel. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Can do all that.
Yeah, I mean, and I think that's also like, speaking of advocating for our chefs and a chef focused thing, it's another revenue stream for our chefs where they can once a week deliver meals for you or a family that are tailored to your dietary needs or what you want, if you all of a sudden your in-laws come in and you're like, oh, I have 2 more people in the house, I need more food, or the kids have extra sports this week, we need more snacks. Chefs can do that during the day and either prep in your home or deliver it. And it's another way of eating, but it's another revenue stream for our chefs that our chefs really take on because it's very consistent. Like if every week they know that they're going to make X number of dollars with a client, that's an amazing model for them. Oh, thank you. We just got coffee delivered.
Trouble.
Oh, that's so nice. I hope Anders was a good delivery boy. Did you tip him?
He has a great delivery.
Nope.
Oh, good. Oh, I missed that. Our listeners missed that. And thank God he's not on camera, so we don't see his mustache. But okay. So I've experienced this platform. I love it. I met Emmie, everyone, at a bar mitzvah. Shout out to Mav and Dobin in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And this whole thing happened. And next thing you know, I have this fabulous dinner party, and we're talking here on the podcast. How did you two meet? Where were you before? And how did you get your heads together to do this and create this with your blockchain and AI selves?
Yeah, and all of our technology. Maybe no, we Zach and I've known each other for longer than we haven't. We met 20 years ago.
I was 30.
His wife is my best friend from college. So we went to go Buffs. We went to Boulder.
Nice. Sco Buffs.
Sco Buffs. Rough. It's been a rough 2 weeks, but we're coming back. Oh, but yeah. So we've known each other, as friends and kind of in a way family for 20 years. I was in advertising in New York predominantly. I was a creative director. I was running really big accounts, doing work for Chase, flying all over the world, Quilted Northern. I worked on the first campaign that the New York Times ever had. We ran an ad on the Oscars. So I did it was amazing. And then I kind of got a little burnt out and was at an Instagram account and did some travel stuff. And then COVID hit and I, like most people, left New York and was freelancing and kind of whatever. And that was like the start of when, and I can let Zach pick up like his background, but that was really the start of us as a professional relationship and like what that looked like. And it took a while, but but Zach is restaurant, not
sort of true.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's basically it. I, as a struggling entrepreneur, worked in restaurants, starting during college, loved working in restaurants, worked all over the US in different restaurants and found some really great restaurants experiences. Worked at Nobu for a while. And then in Austin, worked with the Uchi restaurant group, which is now High Hospitality. And so really, found a great career in the restaurant industry, but also, the pandemic really changed a lot. And Emmie, I was laughing because Emmie actually helped me. I had to skate that company after college, and I started with one of my best friends, and Emmie helped me with using Creative Suite like early on. As she was creative is creative and really good on Illustrator, and I had no idea how to use Illustrator. So she would help me with these designs that we were doing for the skate deck company. So I always felt like Emmie was a great resource for really creative ideas and when you're looking for a business partner, what do you find? You look for somebody different than you or have the skill set that you don't have, or if you have this idea and you don't know, you talk to somebody who's creative. And so I think that's really how I thought Emmie and I started talking was serendipitous timing for her and timing for me in the restaurant industry, where I had left the restaurant during the pandemic at restaurants, trying to help at home and still figure out and navigate a career in the restaurants during that time. And all of these people kept calling me and asking me to book chefs for their canceled reservations. So it was something that was naturally happening to me during this time because people just knew that I had connections to chefs and
Locally in Austin.
Yeah.
locally in Austin. Yeah.
What was the hardest part for you guys to get to the 1,000 chefs that are on your roster or on your bench?
So I think it's the original, so this was happening, as restaurants are closed. I personally laid off like 40 people in one day, chefs, managers, servers, bartenders, dishwashers. Pretty bummer day, like really bummer day. But it was something that, we're instructed to do by the owners of the restaurant. And so, one of the people, her husband was a chef, private chef. She and I were, booking dinners through the restaurant previously. And the first dinner that we really booked was her husband. We booked a dinner for him, just for a group of 6. And I just passed it on. I didn't make a commission or I didn't have anything I was just like, oh yeah, make sure you give him a check for this much because that's how much he'd said he would do it for.
Yeah.
But I'd already gone through the process of like, how many courses, like, what do they want to eat? Like, what time should he be there? Where is it? I was kind of operating in this manner and then passed it off. And the guy that I knew that reached out was like, I hope he took a commission for that. And I just thought, I was like, yeah, that's really funny. Like I should have, but I didn't, but it's cool because, man, tough times for him. Like he's not working. His wife just got laid off. Like, this is sweet. Like,
Yeah.
Good deal.
So then Emmie came in and showed you how to take a commission.
How to make money.
Well, I had stupid ideas,
I'd make money.
What do we call this thing?
But I mean, and that was really how it started, was like when that story happened in Aspen, we were skiing. And
This is the best part.
And he was like, I have a picture of Zach on the phone at the top of Aspen Mountain. And he was like finalizing this dinner. And we credit that as like the start of this thing. And
2 gondola rides.
It's like 2 laps and he did it.
Is it the one where you have to walk up the last little bit to ski down?
No. We don't do that.
part.
That's Long Shot over in Snowmass. But yeah, so then it was kind of one of those, like, Zach was like, I have this idea, and was like planting the seed. And I was like, I gotta be honest, like, I don't really understand it. I was like, I really don't get what you're talking about. And the only way I knew how to figure it out in my the way my creative brain works is I was like, we need a name and like, let me build a website and let me build a logo. So if you look at our logo, the logo is a plate with a house and a fork and knife. Like, it was like trying to, oh yeah, it's in there. So we were like in designing it, trying to create like a logo that encompassed what we were trying to do. And then we had all these names and we had like Google Sheets and texts and things. And like every gourmet name was licensed and taken. Cause Zach's really smart in that, like, he was like, we have to like legally, make a name and not just like whatever. And then I started building a website. I started asking friends for pictures of food. I started, and to be fair, we're starting our 5th year, and that ethos of like the who we are page is still the same. Like, sure, we've tweaked the language some and we've added a few things here and there, but that's never changed. We've had the same vision from the beginning. And so it was like, we did that for, almost a year. And then Zach called in end of summer, it was like August, and was like, I'm gonna do this. Like, I'm really excited about this and I'm gonna make it happen. And you can come to Austin. You don't have to come to Austin. I was between New York and kind of Aspen at the time. And he was like, we can go in together. You can take some, you don't have. And I was like, well, let me just like look at tickets. And that afternoon booked a one-way ticket to Austin. Like, never really left.
Hey, everybody. We've been doing this podcast for over 3 years now. And one of the themes that consistently comes up is sustainability. And I'm just really proud to announce that our sponsor, Berman Falk Hospitality Group, is the first within our hospitality industry to switch to sustainable and recyclable packaging, eliminating the use of styrofoam. please check out their impact page in the show notes for more info. So sometimes a mark of an incredible experience from a hospitality perspective is also when the wheels come off the bus. So do you have any good stories to share where like things just went sideways on a dinner, and how did you recover? And was there a raving fan left at the end of that?
I mean, we've been lucky. I don't know. Zach is operationally more
I answer the
impacted.
phone more.
Yeah, he answers the phone more. He does. Well, no, we've had definitely hard. I will say we're very lucky that we've not, knock on wood, had any like major catastrophes. But I think even the small stuff we consider very big deals. You know,
These are special occasion. I mean, not that any business relationship or transaction should be not what they expected to get, but I would just take it back to managing expectations. The times that the wheels have fallen off are the times when we miss their expectations. Like
Yes.
the expectations that we set or we thought we set in our process were not the actual expectations that the client had in that transaction. And there have been few cases where we haven't been able to rescue that, because I think part of the hospitality is the understanding and there are mistakes will happen.
I want to dig in on that one, because so often in any business that you're trying to do, it's important to set and manage expectations. But much like how Emmie described that food decision tree or food dining decision tree, some of them didn't exist a couple of years ago. So those clarifying questions that you ask when you're kicking it off with a new client, they evolve over time as clients' needs and locations and everything change. How do you give us an example of some of those clarifying expectation setting questions, and how do you check in annually, semi-annually, every couple of years to make sure that you're asking the right questions as the marketplace changes?
I think we right now are figuring out how to do that with technology. What is the best system? I mean, it's CRM. Basically, could be a customer resource management system for our client data that is consistently needing to be updated. And so the way we approach it now is that, we take those notes and we record that information, but we're also treating every event as its own. So it is like an NFT. Like each event is a one-time experience. It's only going to exist on this one date. The weather is going to be this on that date. Their place is going to be this. It's never going to be the same as it was on that experience. So we really approach it from that element. And Emmie said, every dinner gets a brief. That we really treat each event like a creative process. Like, oh, this is your company. Like, tell us about your feeling. Like, is it a red company or is it a blue company? Like, do you see yellow? What? Yeah. And as we grow, I think we'll integrate some of those things into technology so we can balance this human element with the very vast options that people have when they're thinking of, I want to have an anniversary dinner at my house for our 20th year anniversary, our 50th year anniversary, and there's going to be 60 people there. Like, what can I have? I've never done this before. Like, that's very different than I want to have 10 people over and they're going to sit around my table. Like the chef and the experience and the supplies and the staffing are so different. But we're doing and we're booking chefs for both of those things.
And I think it's again, it goes back to a cultural shift of and huge kudos to our operations team and Liz, who helps run that for us. That human connection of asking those questions and getting to know people. I mean, a really good example of that is
tell that story.
Oh, he even knew. That's so funny. He knew the story without.
He knows. We know what story. But it's always it's always people are like, oh, well, I'll have the steak or the chicken. It's that's what you can get at a wedding. So I'll have the steak or the chicken or the vegetarian option. And one of our very first dinners that we booked, It was for the client's husband for his birthday. And so, Zach was talking to her and, of course she was like, well, we'll do like steak or chicken or whatever. And Zach was smart enough to say, well, what did you do last year for his birthday? And she was like, well, we're always traveling. Last year we were in Spain, but with the pandemic and since then we have not traveled. And we just really missed that, it's really sad that we're not
canceled.
They
They
canceled.
canceled our
They
trip.
canceled our trip. And we were like, well, where were you going? And she was like, oh, we were going here in Spain and blah, blah, blah. And we were like, okay, great. So let's recreate that dinner that you should have been having that was canceled. And it was such a meaningful evening for them because they got a piece of that trip back. And
He cried.
he cried. Like he didn't know that it was possible that a chef could do that, that it was like you could have something so bespoke. And it's in those little, I think that's the thing where technology won't pick up that like human tone when someone says, I'm really sad that my trip got canceled. And then we're on the other end to be like, well, let's recreate that for you. Or you have this great, we have questions in our questionnaire of like, if you were going to a restaurant, what restaurant would it be? What's the vibe you want? Like we ask things like, if you're going to play music, what's music that you're going to, like those are all things that cue to us that make us be like, this chef would be perfect.
Does everyone know each other?
Yeah, that's a big one.
I would say when you asked me that, I don't know if I answered this way, but it's like, what restaurant would you want to be at? I was like, I don't know if I wrote this, but I definitely thought it. It was nowhere within 7 miles of where I live.
But and it's like, and that's the thing is that it's what each of these experiences come back to innate ability from a chef. Like it's not by accident that, Chef Devin showed up at your house. Like he was the right chef to be there. And from what we knew about you, from the conversations we'd had, that makes a huge difference, and I think it's also about bringing a client along for a journey. And I learned that in advertising where it was like when we'd have this really creative idea and try and sell it to a client, if you just walked in blind and you were like, we have this insane idea and we're going to like fly around the world and do all this, clients were like, no, that sounds terrifying. But if you like took them along in the journey and like let them get there themselves and start to, imagine some of this themselves, then all of a sudden they're like, oh, it's great. And I think, from the beginning, we had a big conversation of like, will our menus be preset or will they be, different for everyone? And the reality is that they're all different for everyone, but they're also kind of created by the chefs, but the clients think they're also creating them. Like we bring our clients along in the journey and we say, what do you want? And so when we come back with a broccoli dish, they will say, oh, that's so cool. You listened to what I said. We've found the chef that can kind of execute the thing that you want.
As you guys continue to grow and hit that dream scale where it's like that chef-centered hearth connection between your chefs and the clients and your team.
Yeah.
What excites you most as you think about that? And well, there's never really an end, but when you play it out 5 years and you're really humming, what excites you most when you think about that state?
The most exciting thing for me about that dream scale state is related to a part of the book that I read, or part of Shoe Dog by Phil Knight. At the end, he talks about, I think maybe this will resonate then, is I never thought of the Nike as this, but he mentions at the end of the book, kind of in the conclusion, he's like, I've created millions of jobs for people around the world. And I was like, damn, that's heavy. That is heavy stuff. And so for me, and I think us, that's the most exciting thing. We're validated when we pay a chef money. And so, and we make money when they make money. Right now, we don't have a fee or a subscription. That could change just because of the services we're providing and our, what we find in our operating expense that we can really put back towards the chef tools. So at some point we might, have to collect something for that, but without going there, for us is if we're creating one full-time income opportunities for one chef, that's awesome. We're doing that right now just with a handful of chefs. They still work on their own. They, there are independent contractors and they really appreciate that autonomy. But for us, like they could sustain their life completely on our leads, our bookings. And then second would be that we're doing that with, thousands of chefs. So the chefs, one, rely on us for that. That's a, important responsibility. But number two, it's an outlet that they don't currently have right now within the traditional restaurant sense.
Yeah.
That to me is dream scale.
So, Emmie, how about you? If you think forward to that dream scale place, that sweet spot, what's exciting you most about as you think about it? And then also tie that into, I know I mentioned that soon you're going to be on OpenTable, but what's that going to look like?
Yeah. Well, so I think that's part of it, right? The OpenTable deal that we're working on now, which is really exciting, is I guess also part of this dream scale thing when I look at it. And it's very similar to what Zach said, except I take it from a lens of this advertising perspective and cultural and marketing and behavior. And I think that's what's always been so interesting for me as a person in business and creative, is how do you look at something and then say, how can I do it differently or break it and then change culture around it? And I think that's where what I'm really excited about, I think that Zach's, in the same boat, but it's, I want to see it scale that Tivity is almost like a verb, in the sense of like people will book a chef and it's like,
Google it.
You Google it, you go Tivity it. Like you can
Google
have, and it is so normal to say, well, we're going to have a chef on Thursday night at the house instead of cooking. And that is a fundamental cultural shift that we see happening. We believe we can accelerate that. And, the notion with OpenTable is something that we talked about 4 years ago, Zach and I just don't think we were really ready. And now we're so lucky because we've been connected with them. They've been so amazing to us. They're really excited about it. But what was so interesting to us about it was you go on OpenTable to find a dinner reservation. But what's to say you can't book your own house? Like, why should that? Your dining room should be in the pool of seats available in town on Thursday or Friday or Saturday night. And instead of going out, you're booking your house and the chef is coming to you. So we want to stay as close to the restaurant booking process as possible and then fulfill it. But it's just kind of breaking the notion of a reservation. Like
it's like you're creating that next tree branch or road. I don't know what you call it. Was it a tree branch or decision tree?
Yeah, decision tree. Yeah, branch, twig.
Yeah, down the timeline. There you go. You're up. Well, actually, that's and is that in every market, or is that you're crawling before you walk?
No, so we will start. Yeah, we will start in Austin. The way the OpenTable platform works is that you have to have a specific location or city just to book from. But that's not to say that Austin doesn't work. And we then say, okay, we're going to have a thing in New York or in Denver or in Connecticut or what, the goal would be that we are available everywhere.
See, Austin and New York seem like it's great, but also I think like looking at it from the negative space, right?
Oh, totally. Like people that don't have great restaurants.
Oh my God. If you could give that for my 7-mile radius for where I am, where there's just like, it's crappy. Sorry, guys. I mean, there's a couple good ones, but like maybe one.
No, but it's, and
we
that's.
already went there on Monday.
Yeah.
Thursday.
Yeah. Exactly. You don't want to go someplace new.
They could come here. I got a barn. Come cook for us in our barn.
That's something that's really, this OpenTable thing is very new, and we're, like Zach says, it's a pilot. We're so grateful to the guys at OpenTable and how they've been so, like, they're so excited about it and what we're doing. But that's part of like going back to like what technology is. Again, I am a firm believer that there is so much technology out there that you don't necessarily have to build your own to make something work. And we are actively looking at pieces of technology that we can bring into our fold and use to our advantage. And I think the OpenTable is a really good example of that. They have built an incredible piece of technology. So why would we try and rebuild it. They want us to use the platform. We want to use the platform. So let's use it. But maybe we change the rules a little bit, or like,
well, there's still a slew of expectations to determine that are assumed in a restaurant experience. Like when you if you book a restaurant, there, 30 things that you're agreeing to by going to that restaurant already, where if you're booking your home for a general experience, we still need to turn over some stones.
But that's also a missing piece. And I bet you OpenTable will learn from that too, or maybe, but because I often find it's super impersonal and convenient, but there could be, they might be inspired by you to make it more personalized in a way. Who knows? I mean, that's where like it's that two-way street of hospitality.
And they are like they are also defining hospitality in a very cool way. Like what they are giving access to restaurants that you wouldn't have, or blah blah blah, and like also. So it's like that's part of it too. It's like we believe in the restaurant business. We believe in chefs. We believe in all of it. It's like, how do we? It's a little bit like all ships rise a little bit. Like how do we all do stuff together? Because the other piece of it is also is that we have spoken to a lot of smaller restaurants that don't have the infrastructure or the money to hire like an events team. And Tivity can run their events. Like you could book that restaurant and those chefs to come. We just did a dinner the other night too.
We've already booked a handful of restaurants.
This is super interesting because as you look at OpenTable or even Uber Eats is a better example on a spectrum. You could have Uber Eats on one side of the spectrum and then Tivity on the other side of the spectrum, where Uber Eats is really cool. It's convenient. It fulfills a need, but it's also given a rise to ghost kitchens and places where there's just empty, idle space that you can stick a kitchen and a hood in there, and then you could fulfill for a lot of different orders, and it brings food delivery and different choices to different markets. Whereas Tivity on this other side will give rise to a different kind of experience. Like no one knew that Uber Eats was going to create this ghost kitchen boom. So I don't know, who knows what the rise of Tivity could bring, but I think I'd prefer the human interaction side of that Tivity scale than Uber Eats. Don't get me wrong, I appreciate Uber Eats and that it can do that, but like I think that you're allowing for more collisions between people. Yeah.
It's a different need. And that's something we've talked about too, of like, what does our expansion plan look like as well? Like, do we have our own kitchens that chefs can get into if they need prep space? I mean, a lot of their cooking is done in the home, so that's fine. But it's also, if we fundamentally become the largest restaurant group in the country, if you look at it that way, of like we are representing the most amount of chefs, our restaurant footprint is across the country, then we should also qualify for, corporate, not funding, but like wholesale pricing for food. Like right now, all of our chefs buy from upscale markets or grocery stores. But if we really are a quote unquote large scale restaurant, then we have the ability to offer our chefs wholesale pricing or ways to, so that's stuff that we have talked about.
Oh my God, that's amazing. And that's increasing profitability for you and them, right? Because you're finding more margin.
Yeah, exactly. But again, it's about taking the proper steps to get there. Because if we just went into like a wholesale pricing thing, then all of a sudden it's such a change. Like you have to get there somewhat slowly, because we say this stuff and everyone's like, oh yeah, no duh. But like you got to get the culture there.
But as I think about the moat you've created, it's really because you're putting the chefs first. That's really the moat. Everyone else who takes on like going back to taking on outside funding, it's about scale, it's about return, quick return, it's shorter sighted, and you're able to build this thing the right way and give it the care to those chefs that they see that you care. And it's not just private equity money that's like scaling for the sake of scaling. And the chefs, I think, could really pick up on that lack of open-heartedness.
Yeah.
They already experience that in a lot of ways, every restaurant's different, but like I said, I mean, you're having autonomy versus working for someone else is, I guess, the easiest way to define it. It's just you have so much more
freedom. You're bringing freedom to chefs.
and then we need the restaurants. They need the restaurants. It's not one or the other. And in a lot of ways, we are just like a decentralized restaurant group. Each chef is a restaurant. They don't own a restaurant or have a lease, but they'll pop up anywhere and serve and cook and serve their menu and clean up and leave.
And I'm sure as OpenTable is learning from you, I have a suggestion. Like one of the things that they should do in Austin is have pantsless coffee delivery by Anders. I think that could be.
That by Anders, absolutely. Yes. I think
Incredible.
it's really unlike anything.
Well, I am so glad to have spoken with you and for you have given me this option because like you have unlocked this next intimate interpersonal platform for my podcast to like bring former guests together and the ability to have more deep, meaningful conversations. So I'm eternally grateful for that because I was really struggling with it. And I marinate on things a lot. So thank you both.
Well, thank you.
If our listeners wanted to learn more about Tivity or how to book you or how to connect with you guys, if they have any other ideas, or any chefs want to reach out, what's a great way for that to happen?
Well, I think one is the World Wide Web. Go to our website.
Blockchain, AI enabled.
Tivity.com.
Blockchain.
The World Wide Web, you've heard of it.
Yeah.
The URL. But you can connect with us through Instagram.
Yeah, Instagram.
DM.
Yeah, I would say, if you have a date in mind and know what you want or know what you have an idea of what you want, go to our website and click the book a chef button.
You can book a chef immediately on our website. There is a process as stated, but that's the best way to book the chef.
And then
the website. But if you're a chef, you can also go to our website and you can set up your own account and we'll reach out to you directly to set up a meeting and get to know you a little bit more. So again, it's two-sided. Clients can book through our website. There's a link, book a chef, and then chefs can set up a portal or an account through our portal as well through the chef portal.
And then after dinner, we can have Anders come and bring coffee service.
Anders comes, he cleans and does coffee.
This has been really incredibly wonderful.
Dan, I want to say one other thing before I cut you off. Because I think this is relevant. It just made me think about it. One of the philosophies of a restaurant that I worked for a long time was, hospitality was not, it started first with your staff. As a manager, this was like a thing we trained with the management team was, hospitality is for the guests, but actually the first position of hospitality that you should be aware of and be focused on is for your staff. And so, and then the guest, and so it's not always like the guest is right. It's actually, you are, as the manager, responsible for the hospitality of all the people, and the staff. I think the staff sometimes gets left out of that. So that's for us.
One of my favorite books I've ever read on hospitality is Danny Meyer, Setting the Table. And in that, he said, there's 5 stakeholders, right? And normally you put the investors first, then you put the guests, but he flips it. He's like, you got to go staff, then maybe vendors, then somebody, then shareholders, then customers last. Because he said, if you do all those other things right, I forgot what the 4th one is, you're going to get your customers to keep coming back. And I know I'm going to keep coming back. Yeah.
Because they'll be happy.
Thank you for bringing that to everyone's attention as well. So
thank you.
I just want to say thank you to both. I really appreciate you sharing and also creating another decision tree in the food dining experience. So I have faith that you guys are going to do it. I think this is a great big idea. Emmie, thank you for coming into my life. Thank you. And both of you, but really this has been awesome. So thank you.
And hope to see you soon. And thanks so much. And let's change the world together.
Let's Tivity.
Books and chefs.
Let's Tivity it. I'd make it a word. Let's Tivity it. I think that's like the most powerful idea of it. Like everything that we do should become a verb. Let's go. Let's fucking go. LFG. All right. Thank you both. And anyone, if you were thinking about booking a different dining experience or you thought someone, or a chef that could benefit from this or someone that might want to pass it along. We grow by word of mouth. I appreciate all of you. Don't forget to like and subscribe in the comments things, and we'll catch you next time. Big heart, big heart.